First thing is blood flow, oxygen. Without, I mean, it doesn't matter what nutrients you put into the body. If they are not being carried to the brain, it doesn't matter. You have to have good blood flow, and the oxygen is going to have to be there too. And I just picked up a few supplements that I thought were specifically good to help optimize that blood flow. Again, you know, you don't, and I use optimize very specifically. There are times you don't want there to be more blood flow, so optimize is the right word here. Ginkgo biloba is an herb. Many of you may have already known about this, and in amounts of 120 to 240 milligrams daily. This seems to support optimal blood flow in the brain. If you're looking for a preparation, you want to look for 24% flavonoid glycosides. And this is a reference down here. I guess if you download the slides, you'd be able to see that. But that's from the American Academy of Family Practice. And they've actually got some great articles on this sort of thing. But here's the catch. If people have elevated catecholamines in their brain, and I'll talk about what catecholamines are in a minute, or choline, ginkgo may not be the right choice for them. I bring this up just to let you know there are people now, practitioners, whether they're nutritionists or nutritional therapists or even physicians, that go out of their way to make sure that people are well taken care of and that are taking an interest in nutritional supplements and in nutritional optimization. Anytime you've got a chance, if you've got serious issues or concerns, anytime you've got a chance to work with one of those people, I say do. Another beneficial one, capsicum, or you'll see capsaicin or red pepper. This is something that actually helps promote the blood flow as well. It'll promote the blood flow all over the body. Some people get sort of a flush all over when they eat hot peppers, and that's the idea. Another one, very important, arginine, 5,000 milligrams a day. Why 5,000? Less than that, we're not getting the optimal benefits of it. Arginine works by creating, it gives the body what it needs to create, something called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide that's the same science that every time they put a nitroglycerin under someone's tongue, that's what opens up those blood vessels, okay, is the nitric oxide pathway.
And you did a presentation on that, didn't you, a couple of months ago?
Yes. I talked faster and probably longer on that one. But yes, the arginine is extremely valuable in my opinion. And I've been working with arginine for several years now, and I have to say I've been completely blown away. And I'll give you an example. I had a conversation this afternoon with someone who'd had a stroke, and I had to share the information. Conventional medicine says if you've had a stroke, you basically will improve for a year, and then it's over. Okay, any improvement that you're going to have where you regain function that you lost because of the stroke, you will have regained it within a year. And using arginine, particularly combined with things like citrulline or antioxidants in particular, you don't want to use arginine without antioxidants. People have been having further improvements after decades of no improvement. So you never underestimate the body's ability to heal itself given the right tools. It just has to have the right tools. We're wired to heal ourselves, and it only makes sense. If we weren't, every time we got a cut, we'd bleed to death. But we heal. We begin to heal that. Or you break a bone and you would die with a broken bone. No, our broken bones mend. And I believe that we're hardwired to heal. And the brain is hardwired to learn. And learning has to do with the way we are reconnecting synapses, or connecting synapses, I should say. So part of the brain may be damaged. Again, the brain is hardwired to learn. If you give it what it needs, it wants to continue to make synapses, make those connections between nerve cells. So never underestimate the ability of the brain to do that. Lastly, vitamin D also appears to have beneficial effects on blood flow, and it has this very specific benefit for the brain we'll talk about in just a little bit. Now, getting the blood flow there is great, and the nutrition is great, but if there's no oxygen, the brain still can't behave properly. So there are many people walking around with borderline pulmonary issues, and that, if your lungs aren't getting the oxygen in, and the oxygen isn't getting into the blood and isn't getting into the brain will suffer. Other people, sleep apnea is extremely common. And basically, we say if people are snoring, then there's a period of time that they're not getting the oxygen they should have. And this can even, it can become a chronic situation. And this can actually affect people's ability to think clearly as well, this chronically low oxygen situation. All things to keep in mind. So when the blood flow is completely cut off to a part of the brain, we call that a stroke, or if it's cut off for a period of time, we may have something called a transient ischemic attack. But these are really extreme situations. Even with milder situations, you may have dementia, cloudy thinking, not Alzheimer's, that's a different situation. Or people may say, well, my body, my brain doesn't respond like it used to. They may shuffle. Even the pain of neuropathy. Then this is extremely interesting, diabetic neuropathy. This is a blood flow issue. This is a blood flow issue. And actually, arginine is another wonderful thing that is able to assist the blood flow even in people with diabetic neuropathy. And I've even seen situations, people who didn't have diabetes but had a neuropathy not otherwise specified or unexplained neuropathy. And arginine was able to help them out with that. So I've been very impressed with that single nutrient. The last thing to think about with poor blood flow or low oxygen states is a situation of anxiety and restlessness. And I bring this up because it was brought clear to me when we were, as a surgeon, one of the vascular operations we did was called a carotid endarterectomy, CEA. So if there's a area of poor blood flow to the brain, it's most likely going to be in this big blood vessel in your neck that you can feel pulsing. That's your carotid. And that if it's bad enough, we may have to do an operation to take that plaque out. And when we do that, the patients are awake. They have numbing medicine put into the little area there because it's a neck operation. It's not a brain operation. It's a neck operation. And they're awake so they can talk to us, and we'll know. They can squeeze hands, and we'll know if their brain is suffering from too little oxygen. And we can take steps to correct that situation as we're finishing up the operation. One of the things they'll do is they'll get restless. It'll become very hard for them to hold still. They'll become very anxious. And I've begun to wonder over the past few years how many of the people, you see them, their brains aren't working well, you're interacting them with the best they can, and they can't communicate clearly. They can't communicate some of the things that are going on, and there's this anxiety, this restlessness. And I've wondered if part of that might have been blood flow as well. Don't have any data for that. It's just an observation. What else do we need? Your brain has to have glucose. If you starve the brain for about 4 weeks, it won't work very well and will eventually develop the ability to utilize other energy substrates. But basically, your brain and all your nerves require glucose to function. Low glucose is a much more dangerous situation than high. High is bad. High glucose, that's the situation with diabetes who aren't very well controlled, does in fact damage the nerves. All of the, the side effects of diabetes that we know of, most of them are associated with what are called AGEs, advanced glycation end products. And actually, another thing arginine tends to do is block that process where they don't become so advanced so that they can do this damage to the nerves. But this is what's interesting. When you look at people and watch what they're doing and what they're experiencing in life and what their experience of the world is and how it relates back to their habits, you begin to see some cycles. So there are patterns of diet that are going to contribute to abnormal glucose levels, like skipping breakfast, probably the single most common thing people do. Just so you understand, when you eat supper at night, your body takes that energy, it's going to use a certain amount of it, and it's going to store some of that energy in your liver as something called glycogen. As you go through the night, the food that you've eaten is digested, it finally gets absorbed, your body's used all that up, it then begins to work on glycogen, which only lasts for 2 hours. And then your body begins to break down muscle, not fat. It breaks down muscle to make energy. So when you wake up in the morning,